Please welcome America's Mayor, Mayor Rudy Giuliani.
What an unbelievable crowd. It's so wonderful to be in North Carolina. We love North Carolina. You are a great state. Your governor, Pat McCrory, is one of my good friends for many years. He was mayor of Charlottesville when I was mayor of New York. I got to know him very well. You've got a great governor. And what I want you to do is I want you to make sure that on Election Day, when you go vote for Donald Trump, you vote for Pat McCrory too. So we're here today just like we were before when we were in Wilmington, and we're here to talk about the economy. But I want to tell you how dishonest and how rigged and how corrupt this system is. And I have to do it to get it out of the way because I'm actually disgusted. I listened to Donald Trump's speech in Wilmington. And what he said very clearly was that if Hillary Clinton were elected president, she would get to appoint judges to the Supreme Court, and among the other things that they would do to destroy us would be to do away with the Second Amendment and your right to bear arms. Now, is there anybody here that doubts that? Okay. And then he said, and you have the power to do something about it. And what he meant by that was, you have the power to vote against her. You have the power to campaign against her. You have the power to speak against her. You know why? Because you're Americans. The only people with rights in this country, I mean, it's as if the only people with rights in this country are the press. So the Clinton people, this is how corrupt they are. From their days back in Arkansas, they were corrupt. This is how corrupt they are. They spin out that what he meant by that was that it was a joke, and that what he meant by that was that they would kill her. Now, okay. Now, to buy that, you have to be corrupt. Because if you said that to me, I would say to you, are you out of your mind? I saw it, I heard it, I know what it meant. I heard how the crowd reacted to it, because if he had meant what they're saying he meant, or suggesting he meant, they would have reacted the way you just reacted. So here's what it proves. It proves that most of the press is in the tank for Hillary Clinton. They will buy any lie, any distortion, any spin that the Clintons put out, and they've been doing it since he was governor of Arkansas. They've been doing it during the time he was president of the United States. They were doing it all during the time she was a senator from my state, and upstate New York fell apart because of her broken promises. And they've been doing it throughout this campaign. And they're doing everything they can to destroy Donald Trump because he stands in the way of Hillary Clinton. But we are not going to allow the Washington insiders, and I include the press and a lot of politicians, including some Republicans. We're not going to allow the Washington politicians to get us off course, because we're here to talk about the economy today. We're here to talk about an economy that's been handled by Barack Obama, and an economy that Hillary Clinton wants to continue. We just came from a small factory here that made a lot of the signs that you're holding. And the man who runs it, who's a neighbor of yours, told us that because of Obamacare, he had to lay off 4 workers. Because of Obamacare, 2 of his workers can't get coverage. Because of Obamacare, his wife's health insurance went up from $3,000 a year to $11,000 a year. And because of $1,000 a year to $10,000 a year. These are just working people. These are just working people. These people don't have big lobbyists in Washington. You know, they don't have big special interests. They're not getting $1.2 million from UBS like Bill Clinton to give a speech. They're not getting hundreds of thousands of dollars from Goldman Sachs on Wall Street like Hillary Clinton. Hillary Clinton is against Wall Street. She's made millions of dollars. They stuck it right into her pocket. If you're so against it, give the money back, Hillary. How about we just beat her and get rid of her? And please, ladies and gentlemen of the press, when I said get rid of her, what I meant was defeat her in the election. You get it straight? You know why I like being a Republican? Because I like fighting against them. And I like fighting for you, the people. And that's what this election is about. Hillary Clinton represents the Washington insiders. All the people who have been taking money, and look at all the money the Clinton Foundation has taken in, hundreds of millions of dollars, while she was Secretary of State and while she was doing favors for the countries and the rich people and the Russian oligarchs who were giving hundreds of millions to the Clinton Foundation, and she was doing favors for them, making calls to the IRS on behalf of UBS that paid Bill Clinton $1.2 million. Selling 20% of our uranium to Russia to benefit another one of the contributors to the Clinton Foundation. Why do you think the 35,000 emails are gone? Why? I'm just getting started. You know why they're gone? You know why they're gone? Because those emails, I guarantee you, show the connection between the hundreds of millions taken in by the Clinton Foundation and the favors that Hillary Clinton was doing in return for them. And I don't want to encourage you with that chant anymore, except I will say one thing. No, I won't say that. I won't say that. I won't say that, but I will say as a former U.S. Attorney, Assistant U.S. Attorney, and Associate Attorney General under Ronald Reagan, I might add, I would have indicted her. By the way, every single person in this room, including me, would have been indicted for 10% of what she did. How about we have the same system of justice for the Clintons as they have for all of the rest of us? Here's what Donald Trump wants to do for the economy. He wants to bring jobs back. Our recovery under Barack Obama has been pathetic. The only thing Barack Obama has done worse than handling our economy is the way he handles our foreign policy. Where he's made us kind of a joke. You know, drawing those lines in the sand. And if Assad used chemical weapons, he was going to do something. Then he drew the first red line, and Assad did it, and then the second one and the third one. Finally, the line started to turn a little orange. By the time he was finished, the lines were yellow. Because he threatened and did nothing about it. That is what you describe as a weakling. And he's been a weakling on our economy. 3 quarters in a row, growth of less than 2%. It's pathetic for a country with the power of this country, with the strength of this country, with workers like you. Now, here's how you change it. First thing you do is you lower taxes immediately. Lower them. You take the corporate tax down from 35% to 15%. Do you know why? If you were running a company and you could go to Ireland and pay 12% tax, and you had to pay 35%, actually 40 or 45% tax when you consider state and local taxes in America, wouldn't you be tempted to go to Ireland? Well, that's what's happened to us. We're chasing our businesses out of America. We are taxing them out of America. We have the highest corporate tax rate in the world. No wonder we are not able to produce good jobs, sustaining jobs. It isn't because we're not giving people enough welfare. We sure are doing that, boy. And we've doubled, maybe even tripled the number of food stamps under Obama. Obama's answer, Hillary's answer is make you dependent on the government. Our answer is to put out our hand, help you get a job, and make you dependent on you. That's what America's about. We are not a socialist country, and we will never be a socialist country. We are not a European social democracy. Look how well they're doing. We're America, a land of opportunity, a land where people work hard. So we are also going to do away with the death tax. So people who have farms don't lose their farms. The death tax is so unfair. All your life you pay taxes to the government. Now it's up to 38, 39, 40%. In a state like mine, it's over 50% in tax. The government is the senior partner in my wage earning. I'm the junior partner. They own more of me than I own of myself. So, what we want to do is change that. We want to put money back into your hands so you can spend it. We want to do away with Obamacare immediately. So that your neighbor can go back and rehire those 4 workers and maybe 4 more workers. And we can cut his health insurance in half so he can afford it. We want to renegotiate the trade agreements that are unfair to us and have taken jobs right out of this state of North Carolina and sent them to Mexico and other parts of the world. We signed trade agreements. We signed a trade agreement with Korea. It was supposed to give us a great big surplus. We end up now with the largest trade deficit with South Korea that we have ever had in our history. Donald Trump will be able to renegotiate those treaties. And by doing that, he will produce jobs, the infusion of money into the economy. The renegotiation of the trade agreements will create jobs. Now, let me tell you where that plan comes from. Donald Trump didn't invent it. I didn't invent it. That was the plan John Kennedy had. That was the plan Ronald Reagan had. And we had two of our periods of greatest growth when we cut taxes in the early 60s and the early 80s. I will tell you from my own personal experience, that is exactly what I did in New York City. I cut taxes, and I went from a $2.5 billion deficit to a $3.5 billion surplus. And I did it. And I did it not by giving welfare to people, but by giving them jobs. That's why you need Donald Trump. He is the only one who can challenge this system. There's something really wonderful if you look at American history. It always seems like we have the right person at the right time. Almost always, right? And we're not even sure where they come from or how we find them. You know, how we found Abraham Lincoln at exactly the right time, or George Washington, or how we found Ronald Reagan, an actor. All the stuff they're saying about Trump, they said worse things about Ronald Reagan. I remember a movie, I think it was on ABC, about how Ronald Reagan was going to destroy the world because of his policy toward the Soviet Union. How'd that work out? Well, he liberated millions of people. That's how it worked out. The Berlin Wall fell down. And ABC never apologized. They never apologized for being wrong. Ronald Reagan followed the same program. Reduce taxes, cut the size of government. As Donald Trump will tell you in a few minutes, cut down the regulations that are crushing us. Put our coal workers back to work. Put our steel workers back to work. I am a big believer in a safe environment. I am not a big believer in ridiculously excessive, idiotic interpretations of environmental laws that deprive us of millions of jobs and deprive us of power and deprive us of the ability to build our businesses. China is burning coal. India is burning coal. You think they do it safer than we do? So what good is it doing with all these regulations that Obama is putting on that are putting coal miners out of work? And Hillary Clinton has told them they are going to be out of work. Now, what's Hillary Clinton's program? Hillary Clinton is going to raise taxes. She even said the other day the only truthful thing she said in 20 years. She said, I'm going to raise taxes on the middle class. Now, she said she didn't mean that. Have you ever heard of a Freudian slip? Of course she has to raise taxes on the middle class. This is a game that's been played so often, the American people have to be smart enough to figure it out. You can't get the money she is trying to get for all the giveaway programs that she has, including the one she's now adopted from the socialist Bernie Sanders, right? You can't get that money just from the millionaires. You can't. You have to tax the middle class in order to get that money. That's why she slipped. That's why she said she's going to tax the middle class. I guarantee you, if you make the mistake of making her president, you're going to see your taxes go up again, just like you did with Obama. What did Obama say? You can keep your doctor. A lie. You can keep your health insurance. A lie. There'll be no additional cost for health insurance. A lie. Donald Trump will be able to go to Washington owing nothing to anyone. Except you. You. He's your voice. He's your voice in Washington. He's your champion in Washington. That's why he's doing this. This man doesn't need to run for president. But I'm going to tell you, I've known him. I've known Donald for almost 30 years. He cares about you. He cares about the carpenter that's helping him build a building. He cares about the steel worker who's helping him build a building. He cares about the kids who are going and getting the coffee for the construction workers at the building sites. Every time he would see me when I was mayor, before he shook hands with me, he would shake hands with the police officers that were with me, out of a sign of respect for the police. She does not respect the police. She does not respect the police. Don't ever think that she does. The corrupt press did not adequately report to you that at the Democratic convention, they did not allow uniformed police officers on the floor of the convention. Hillary Clinton has refused to seek the endorsement of the Fraternal Order of Police and fill out their questionnaire. So excuse me if I don't say she's anti-police. And I know from being mayor of New York, she never wanted New York City police officers around her either. She doesn't like police officers. In fact, from her point of view, police officers are guilty before they're found innocent, including the ones in Baltimore who she pronounced guilty. And now they've been found innocent. I haven't heard her apologize. She had standing behind her the father of the murderer in Orlando. And she hasn't apologized yet. She hasn't condemned it yet. Can you imagine if Donald Trump had done something like that? My goodness, the New York Times would have a front page for 6 days. ABC, CBS, NBC would lead with it. And they're trying to do this stupid story now about the power of the NRA, the power of those people who believe in the Second Amendment to have an influence on this campaign. Because they don't understand you, you know. They don't understand you. They don't understand America except New York and Hollywood. And a little bit in Washington. That's it. The rest of you, they can take care of you. They'll tell you what's best for you. They'll tell you what kind of insurance you should have. They'll tell you what you can drink and what you can eat and what your schools are going to be like. Donald Trump will return the government to you. So, it is a distinct honor and a great privilege to present to you the next President of the United States, Donald Trump.
Back here. Was that a great introduction? I mean, in all fairness. And he's known me for a long time. I used to have to get those zoning approvals from him in New York. They were tough. He is a great guy. What a great introduction. It's always nice. Thank you. You know, we had one day to set this up. Look at this place. We had one day. One day. We're going to do great in North Carolina. We just left. You know where we were. And the crowds we're getting here are amazing. No, the enthusiasm is so incredible. But you know what is nice? When you have people like Rudy that really know you and they speak from the heart. As opposed to every once in a while, and they're very nice, they get up and they've endorsed you or they're with you, but they don't know you. In fact, you've only known them for about 12 minutes, right? And they say, Donald Trump and this and that, and it doesn't mean the same. I've known Rudy for, I guess, close to 30 years. I hate to admit that long because it's like a long time, but I've known him for a long time, and he was a great mayor, did a great job in everything he's ever done, and a special guy. And I hope that if I win, we're going to be taking him and Chris Christie and General Flynn and my great sheriff. I'll tell you, we have so many different people that are on this campaign. We're loaded up with great sheriffs and great people. You know, we have just amazing people. We're going to be bringing fantastic people on board. And I've gotten to know so many people doing this. And somebody said before, you know, you should mention some of the people. Ben Carson is such an incredible guy. Ben Carson, great guy. He's a great person, great human being. And some of the people that, in all fairness, you know, we had 17 people. Some of the people I ran against, I got to know them, and they're good. I didn't treat them very nicely, but that's okay. You know, that's all right. But we're going to bring a lot of the people that you know and a lot of people that you respect, and we're going to do it based on talent, based on all of the things that we need for the different positions. We have such talent in this country, and we're not using it. We're just not using it. Such incredible talent. And speaking of talent, so what's with this voter ID in North Carolina, right? What's with this? You know, I keep talking about rigged the system. I watched Bernie Sanders work. Poor old Bernie, he's working. And I said, I think the system's rigged. You know, the superdelegates. What happened to Bernie? Where is he? What happened? But we're going to get a lot of Bernie voters. I think we really will. Because I talk about trade, and I've been talking about it for years, many years. Before I was doing this, hey, I've been doing this for like, 15 months now. Long before I was doing this, I was talking about trade and what a disgusting situation it is for our country. Do you know that 2 days ago I met a supporter, and he's in the tile business. Great guy. But he said his business is being decimated by foreign countries where they make tile, and the tile's not nearly as good. And he can't send his tile to those countries because there's a 27% tax, and it's very tough. But they can send their stuff in here. And their stuff, by the way, is not as good as what this man makes. And, you know, the trade thing, it's all like we talk about free trade. And I want trade. And I'm not an isolationist, by the way. I want free trade. But I want it to be great trade for our country. It's got to be a two-way street. It's got to be a two-way street. And it will be a two-way street again. It will be a two-way street. But he was telling me how impossible it was for him, in this case it was China, but it's really almost everybody, how impossible it was for him to do business in China. And not for long. And we'll do business in China. We're going to do business in China. But we're going to do it on an equal footing. Right now, they can dump their product, and you know what I'm talking about, the steel they dump. And I think they dump it to put our steel companies out of business so that we have to go to China to buy the stuff. And you know what? Not going to happen anymore, folks. It's not going to happen anymore. And if you think Hillary Clinton knows anything about it, number one, I know about it. But even if she did, it wouldn't matter because she's controlled by her donors and her special interests. Totally controlled by her donors and special interests. So if she knew, it wouldn't make any difference. Wouldn't make any difference whatsoever. So we're going to bring back our trade. You know, somebody said to me, what's the most important? Well, there's so many things. We got to repeal Obamacare, replace it. We got to have strong borders. I mean, there's just so many things. You can go on and on and on. We could stand here for 3 days. We could tell you what's wrong. And so many of these things are so easy to fix. One of the things that amazes me, when I talk about trade, I want to have trade. I think it's good, the concept of trade, but it's got to be fair. But here's the thing. I say, I'm going to renegotiate NAFTA, which is a disaster. By the way, in North Carolina, and virtually every other place, in all fairness. But they have ripped businesses from your guts. They've taken businesses out of this state, out of Ohio, out of Michigan. Michigan has just been decimated by NAFTA, the auto plants. You've got to see what they're building in Mexico. They are building some of the greatest, biggest, most modern plants in the world for cars, for computers, for everything. And you know what, folks? I think that's fine. But we're not going to help them. We're going to fight for ourselves. We're going to have a policy very simple. America first. Remember that. America first. So we have essentially two people running. And Hillary made it through a small field. I made it through a large field. And she got through. I got through. We're stuck with each other, which is fine. And I'll tell you what, if you knew where she stood on the Second Amendment, on the raising, where she basically wants to take your safety away, she wants to take your guns away. And by the way, if she appoints Supreme Court justices, meaning if she gets the option to appoint, meaning a very sad day in this country, because if she became president, she would do a terrible job. This would be 4 more years of Obama, and we don't want 4 more years of Obama. We don't want ISIS. We don't want regulations. We don't want high taxes. All of these things would be an extension. This would be an extension, a 4-year extension of Obama, and I think in many ways it may end up being worse. So if she gets to appoint Supreme Court justices, you know, the next president will appoint probably 3, but it could even be 4 or 5. That's the way the cards fall. Will be a record-setting number, possibly. And we had Judge Scalia as an example. That was supposed to be, Justice Scalia was supposed to be there for a lot longer, and that he was taken from us, and he was a great guy. And we are going to appoint justices. You know, I named 11 people that are highly, highly vetted, heritage and different people, and gone through different people that I respect, conservative people, smart people, and very importantly, and the real standard, if we could find as close to Justice Scalia, because he was a terrific United States Supreme Court judge. Now, if on the other hand, if Hillary appoints justices of the Supreme Court, you're going to have a lot of problems, folks. You're going to have a lot of problems. Because, you know, if they're on the court for 20 or 25 years, and you have 4 of them, let's say, or 3 of them, or 5 of them, I mean, we're gone for like, what, 75 years, meaning we're gone as a country. Because we will be a large-scale version of Venezuela. That's what's going to happen. And you see what's happening in Venezuela. So we can't let it happen. We can't let it happen. Now, just a couple of things, and I wrote these down a week ago, and I've said it, and I mean it. But I said, unstable Hillary Clinton lacks the judgment. Remember when Bernie Sanders talked about judgment? He said she has bad judgment. Now, when he said it, nobody picked it up. And when I say it, nobody picks it up either, because you can't say bad, because the press will never pick up anything that's correct or accurate or bad about Hillary. No, it is such a double standard. But Bernie Sanders said that Hillary Clinton had bad judgment. And he said it many times, and he said it over and over. And then I think he was really asked not to say that anymore, and he stopped. Because they were perhaps more civil than we were on our side. We would never stop. But she has bad judgment. Her temperament, a word she uses all the time, is terrible. It's a loser's temperament. She's got the temperament of a loser. I have the temperament of a winner, and we have to win again. We have to win again. She said about me not so long ago, my tone. She said, I don't like the tone, T-O-N-E. I don't like the tone of Donald Trump. Now, in the Middle East, they're chopping off heads. They're drowning people in steel cages. They're burying people in the sand. And she doesn't like my tone. I think it's time maybe for a little tougher tone, folks. You know, no fairness. Time for a tougher tone. So, the bad judgment alone, you can't pick her. Hey, look, whether you look at Libya, you look at Syria, you take a look at the migration. Take a look at this. She wants to put, and I said 500%, and the press said I was wrong. It wasn't the right number. 500% more people coming in from Syria. We don't know who they are, where they come from. She wants, and I said 500% more than President Obama, and he's got them pouring in, right? And the press said I was wrong. You know what the real number was? 550%. I couldn't believe it. I was on the low side. I was on the low side. 550% more than we have coming in right now. And you know what? This is going to be, in my opinion, and I've been pretty right on these things. I said, don't go into Iraq. I was right about it. I said, and by the way, once we were in Iraq, getting out the way Obama got out caused problems that are going to be very hard to solve. I said irreparable. What they have done in terms of getting out of Iraq, ISIS comes about. You know, I said before, also in North Carolina, I said that if they gave a trophy for the most valuable player, you call it in sports, most valuable player award, the winner of the trophy for ISIS would probably have to be Hillary Clinton, right? Hillary Clinton. And now she's going to tell you how to get rid of ISIS. She's going to tell you how, because her and Obama, and I guarantee you that if Obama had the choice to do again, now he has to go and play the game, but if he had the choice to do again for Secretary of State, and if he knew what took place in the Middle East and other places, I guarantee you he would never have picked Hillary Clinton. He would never have picked her. He would not have gone that way. Now, you're not going to hear that. I'm sure he tells that to his wife, but that's about it. Because he can't. But that's the way it is. So she is just a person that, if she's president, we're going to have problems like you've never had before. She talks about toughness with Russia. Wouldn't it be nice if we actually got along with people? Wouldn't that be a nice thing? Okay? You know, Russia is a nuclear nation, has nuclear weapons. You know, she's tough. They talk about Crimea. I answered a question perfectly. They were talking about Russia and what I would do with Ukraine and Russia. But, you know, by the time this is now taking place, Crimea is already a part of Russia, essentially, right? And this happened on Obama's watch. So they put out a thing about me. I didn't know foreign policy. I didn't know foreign policy. Why did you let Crimea go to Russia? They don't want to mention this. They don't want to mention the fact that when I was asked about NATO, that I said, look, NATO's obsolete. Now, I'm not an expert on NATO, but I have a lot of common sense. I have great business sense. I made a lot of money, and I had great success. But you know what? Built a great, great company, far greater than anybody even understands. But you know what? I said, NATO's obsolete. And they all smiled and laughed. Oh, Donald Trump, he said it's obsolete. Don't forget, this was done for the Soviet Union many, many, many years ago. Now, let's say Russia, tough, so it's okay for Russia too, right? Let's say it's fine. But this was done originally for the Soviet Union. It morphs into Russia. That's fine. But we have a new threat. It's called terrorism. And they're not equipped for terrorism. They don't even have the right countries for terrorism. And I said this, actually, to Wolf Blitzer of CNN. But I said this, and people smiled. Oh, isn't that funny? Isn't that funny? 3 days later, they started saying, Trump is right. It's really obsolete. You know, you ever hear the expression, you can't see the forest for the trees, right? Right? You can't see the forest for the trees. You have guys, good people, they study NATO. They're so close. They're so close that they can't see what's going on. So All of a sudden, 3-4 days later, somebody came out and said, Trump's got a point. And then a couple of months ago on the Wall Street Journal on the front page, I read, because I said terrorism. It's obsolete because it's not covering terrorism the way it should be. And then all of a sudden I read a big story, front page story in the Wall Street Journal, NATO to develop terrorism division. And I was only mentioned like 1/8 of one sentence that I essentially wasn't happy. They could have given me a little more credit, but that's okay. I don't need the credit. I want our country to be great again. That's what I really want. That's my credit. But then I said a second thing with NATO. I said a second thing. Thank you. Thank you very much. I said a second thing with NATO. I said we have too many countries that aren't paying their way. Because I had heard it. And I don't study it. I mean, that NATO was, I'll tell you what, when I was asked a question about NATO, I give you my word. It's not my, I'm a business guy. In my whole life, I was never asked about NATO, right? But I gave a great answer. And they've actually changed NATO because of what I said, okay? Now, it's not even because of what I said. It's because of what we said. Folks, just so you know something, we have a movement going on here. This is a movement. This is a movement. This is a real great movement. This is a beautiful thing to watch. No matter where we go, the crowds, the enthusiasm. I mean, this thing we started today here. I said, let's stop there. It's great. I have a friend that lives in the area. I said, all right, I'll come up. I mean, it's amazing. And by the way, I love the military. Is this military or what? I love the military. And we're going to take care of the military. We're going to take care of the military. I have to say, I'm in a lot of businesses, but I'm in the real estate business primarily. And I get so many listings of military bases. This one's for sale, that one's. And at one point, a few years ago, I said, wow, how many bases can we sell? They're getting rid of so many places and so many bases. And the one thing, and I'm a big believer in cutting, and we can do a lot of cutting and a lot of pruning and have things be better. Look at the VA as an example. How badly run is the VA? How badly run is the VA? And yet it's like a corrupt enterprise. But how badly run is that? And that's not just a question of money. It's a question of management. It's a question of style. Our veterans are not being treated as well as a lot of people that come into our country illegally. Oh, and by the way, they said my wife, Melania, might have come in illegally. Can you believe that one? No. They said, headlines, maybe she came in illegally, maybe. Let me tell you one thing. She has got it so documented, so she's going to have a little news conference over the next couple of weeks. That's good. That's good. I love it. I love it. They said, Melania Trump may have come into our country illegally, and how would that be for Donald Trump to be talking? Here's the only problem. She came in totally legally. I mean, so that's what they'll say. All right, but you'll see it in a little while. I said to her, no, let it simmer for a little while. Let them go wild, let it simmer, and then let's have a little news conference and have some fun. But they have to come in. And by the way, we want people to come into our country. But they have to come in legally. They have to come in legally. Now, Hillary Clinton, I just have to go because these facts are pretty obvious, but we have to go over them like one last time because we're dealing with a person that doesn't know how to tell the truth. We're dealing with a very dishonest human being. Remember the word? Do you remember the word short circuit? Can you imagine if I said, I had a short circuit? Headlines all over the world, right? With her, it's a little story. In fact, I watched that interview with Chris Wallace at Fox. I watched it, and I saw her say lots of bad things. Lots of bad things. The lie on the lie on the lie. I mean, it got to be like multiples, right? So many things. How did she get away with it? Her greatest achievement in life will be getting away with what she got away with. That's in my opinion. I see this guy Blagojevich, and I know him because he was on The Apprentice, right? The guy's got in jail for 14 years. And he just, I guess, lost an appeal today or something. He's in jail for 14 years, and Hillary Clinton is allowed to delete 33,000 emails. Think of that. Think of that. What's going on? What's going on? Sad. Sad. No, honestly, folks, it's a very sad situation. Our country has been set back. The world watched that whole situation. That world has been watching, and it's very, very bad. And I'll tell you what, it speaks so badly of our country, because everybody knows that she should not be running for the presidency right now. She should not be running. Everybody knows that. Go over a couple of the statements, and we'll do it quickly, because it looks. And now they say the foundation. Well, they're not going to get on that. They're not going to do anything with the foundation, right? They're looking at the foundation. Give me a break. Hillary Clinton claimed the reason for her illegal use of private, insecure email, totally insecure, was that it was more convenient to use just one device, okay? Fact, the FBI director said Hillary used several devices and numerous mobile devices, and therefore it was a lie. False statement number 2. I mean, we could go false statement number 30. Hey, wouldn't you love to see what some of those 33,000 emails say? Wouldn't you love to see it, though? I tell you, honestly, it's a very sad situation. Very sad situation. But how do you get away with it? You say, by the way, we won't be giving in 33,000 emails, but we subpoenaed the emails. I assume they subpoenaed them, right? We want the emails. Oh, well, we deleted 33,000. Oh, well, that's okay. That's fine. No problem. Can you imagine if somebody else did that? Yeah, tell Petraeus about it. False statement number 2. In her testimony to Congress, Hillary Clinton said she turned over all of her work-related emails. All of it. The FBI director said Hillary failed to turn over several thousand work-related emails, including some emails that were classified. What's going on? What's going on? False statement number 3. In her testimony to Congress, Hillary Clinton said, there was nothing marked classified on my emails, either sent or received. Now, you know that's false. And that's been proven. And I could go over page after page after page, and it won't ever change, folks. We have a person that's very dishonest. We have a person that shouldn't be able to run. We have a person that how she escaped this unbelievable situation is considered one of the great wonders of the world. I'll tell you right now. Sad. It's very sad. So look, a few things. Hillary, comparison, wants to raise taxes tremendously. Trump, that's me, Trump, wants to lower them very substantially. You saw that, guys. Hillary, crooked Hillary, she is crooked as a $3 bill. Crooked Hillary wants to expand regulations. And by the way, regulations, in my opinion, and I go around, I'm all over the country, meet unbelievable people. If they had a choice of having their taxes reduced or their regulations pretty much wiped out to a large extent. I mean, we need certain regulations, environmentally we need, and, we need certain, but it's so excessive. You can't start businesses. You can't keep businesses going. It's amazing to find out that people would rather have their revenues reduced substantially than have their taxes reduced, and we're just about the highest taxed nation in the world. That tells you what's going on. All right. Hillary Clinton wants to shut down energy production. She wants to get rid of all the miners. She doesn't want any miners. Any miners in here, by the way? Now, we're going to expand energy. We're going to expand all forms of energy, but we're going to expand energy, right? All right. Right? Hillary, think of this. Hillary wants, oh, look at that. She wants to appoint far left judges who will destroy our Constitution. I want judges who will support and defend our Constitution. Right? Hillary wants to open our borders, and I want to have strong borders, and we're going to have the wall, and Mexico's going to pay for the wall. Right? It's going to happen. I have to say, it's very interesting, because a lot of the people, the politicians that I deal with, they come to me and they say, Donald, you don't really mean build a wall. They're not in the construction business like I am and like some of the people. They really mean it, too. I mean, they mean it. They wouldn't have any chance of building because they wouldn't know where to begin. But they come up and they say, you don't really mean you're going to build a wall, do you? You're kidding, right? I said, no, it's easy. Precast plank, beam, boom. See the ceiling? That ceiling is a little low compared to this wall. It's not a low ceiling. It's a little low compared to our wall. But think of it. So they come up to me, and they really mean it. They're good people. They come up. Some aren't good people, actually. But they come up and say, you don't really mean build a wall. And I convince them you make it really easy. It goes so fast. By the way, honestly, a very small version of it. But do you ever see these highways where they put up the walls along the highways? It always amazed me. Somebody buys a house along a highway, so they know what they're buying, right? Do you know what I'm about to say? The money that we waste. So they buy a house, and it's along a highway. And the highway's a little noisy, a little everything. But that's why they bought the house. They bought it for a low price. Because they don't want to be along a highway. They don't want whatever it is. And they don't want the noise. So they buy this house, and they have it, and they're fine. And then they get the government to build a wall and make the house more valuable, and the government spends a fortune on the wall. But take those walls, and they go up like magic. Now, make it much, much bigger, okay? I don't mean a little bit bigger. I mean, like, if you get up there, man, you want to be very careful getting down. And walls do work. Just ask Israel. How do walls work, Israel? They work, right? Right? All you have to do is ask Israel about walls. Ask Israel about walls. So, we're going to build a wall. And I also tell these folks when they come up and they talk about it's impossible to build a wall, right? And I really mean it. Look at the highways. They build these things all over the place. I don't even know why. I don't know why. They build so many of them. They're putting them all over the place. I want somebody that's, it's going to help us, okay? It's got to help us. But we're going to build a wall. Then they come up and they say, you can't do it. And I say, well, wait. Take a look at China. They have a thing called the Great Wall of China. I don't know if anybody's ever heard of it. A little wall that goes 13,000 miles, right? 13,000 miles. The Great Wall of China. 13,000. You know what 13,000 miles is? I mean, we're talking about a serious wall. We're talking about a wall like there is no wall. What's Canada, like 5,000 or 6,000, right? So we're talking about really much more than twice Canada, along Canada. So here we have a situation where politicians are telling me about the wall, and I refer them back 2,000 years. This wall was built 2,000 years ago. This, by the way, if anyone's ever seen the Great Wall of China, this is a serious wall. This is not a wall built with hydraulic equipment. This was built with hydraulic muscles. So it's 13,000 miles, and it was built 2,000 years ago. So we have 2,000 miles, of which we really need only 1,000 because we have a lot of natural borders, right? We have a lot of natural barriers. And so we have 1,000 miles. China had 13,000. And we can use Caterpillar tractors. I'm not using Komatsu, by the way. I'm using... Or we'll use John Deere tractors, right? You like John Deere. Or we'll use Jacobson. You know Jacobson? Good company. I use Jacobson too. I use a lot. You know how much John Deere and Jacobson equipment I bought over the years? And Jacobson's here too. You know that, right? I have a very big property, right? I have a very, very big property in North Carolina. And I have John Deere and I have Jacobson. I have all of them. But I bought millions and millions and millions of dollars of equipment. Millions of dollars worth of equipment. And I try when I can to buy made in the USA. I try. Sometimes you can't. Because sometimes they devalue the dollar or their currency so much. They devalue, like China is the grand master of devaluation. And so now are other countries. I mean, it doesn't take so much to figure it out. What takes a lot is to get away with it, because what they do is cheating. And I want to buy, when we can, made in the USA. Remember the old days we had signs made in the USA, made in America? It was like a... Have you seen what happened to it? I think if I win, we're going to sort of go back to made in the USA or made in America. Sure. It's true. We don't see that anymore, right? You don't see it. That used to be a sign of quality. When you had a car or when you had something made in the USA, made in America, both of them, and you don't see them anymore. We're going to go back because we're going to make so many things again, folks. We're not making product anymore. Our plants, I tell the story all the time because to me it's a great story. I have a friend who's probably in the world the biggest builder of plants. He builds plants. That's what he does. Great guy. And he builds plants, massive plants for cars, for computers, for like anything. If it's a plant, he builds it. And I said, how are you doing? He said, I'm doing good. Business is good. Really? How's the United States doing? Not so great. I said, well, how's business good? He said, Donald, you've got to see what's happening in Mexico. What's happening in Mexico is the 8th wonder of the world. We're building some of the biggest, most beautiful plants you've ever seen. He'd rather build them here. Okay? He'd much rather build them here. But that's not the way our government works, because we allow this to happen. And they're taking our businesses from North Carolina and from all these other states, Ohio, big league, Michigan, tremendous what they're doing. They're taking they're taking tremendous auto business. You look at Ford, you look at these other car companies, and they're going there. And we're like sort of left holding the bag. That's not going to happen anymore, folks, okay? Not going to happen. Now, so they say, and I've been watching for years. And I've been seeing our country, our government officials who don't know what they're doing. All sorts of tax abatements and low interest loans and zero interest loans. And they'll give a zero interest loan and somebody will move anyway. They'll say, hey, let's get out of here. They forgot to put a restrictive covenant on. But I've been watching them fight moving companies for so long. And all you have to do is use the example of Carrier. They build air conditioners. They announced to Indianapolis, Indiana, a place that I love because we had such a big victory. And Bobby Knight really helped, I will tell you. And Lou Holtz and so many others. But Bobby Knight was in there campaigning with me. But we had a big victory. We won a massive victory there. And one of the reasons was Carrier fired their employees. And they're moving to Mexico. And here's how you stop it, folks. You say, I'm going to charge a 35% tax on every air conditioner that you make and sell into the United States, and go through a very strong border, by the way. And here's what happens. Number one, if you say it soon enough, nobody leaves. Now, let's say somebody called me 10 years ago and they put me in charge of companies not leaving the United States. Okay, that's my official. I am Secretary of Companies Not Leaving the United States. I don't think one company would have left the United States. Okay, I really don't. I might not have been nice. Who cares? It's like some of the people that I have negotiated. We have some of the greatest business leaders in the world that have endorsed me and that want me to win because they know I know what I'm talking about. And we will use these people. Some of them are not nice people. Do we care? Do we care? We have very nice people right now. We have such nice people that they don't put America first. They put America ninth. They don't care about America. Many of them are political hacks. Many are diplomats that have no understanding of business or anything else. So here's the story, folks. We are going to stop this barrage of companies leaving. You have people right now in this room think they have a good job and their company is negotiating to move to Mexico or another place. Or their company is being taken over by China, and then it would be closed and they'll take the product. But China doesn't even do that. They just sell things into the country. And you want to try doing business in China? It's almost impossible because they make it so difficult to get your product in. I have friends that are manufacturers. They cannot get their product in. And if they do get it in, they have to pay a massive tax. And yet China comes in. So we have a $500 billion trade deficit with China. We have a tremendous trade deficit, like around $60 billion with Mexico. That's why when I say Mexico will pay for the wall, everyone says, oh, you have to be. Well, the trade deficit is massive compared to the cost of the wall. And we're talking about, we lose so much money on trade with Mexico. And that's not including the drugs that pour across the border. We're not including that. That's a separate category. And we're going to stop that. And by the way, Border Patrol, the Border Patrol agents of our country, 16,500 have endorsed me. They've never endorsed a presidential campaign. Never. Because we're not going to play games. And Sheriff Joe Arpaio of Arizona, Sheriff Joe endorsed me. That's pretty good. So we're going to have strong borders. We're going to have strong borders. We're going to have great trade deals. We're going to renegotiate NAFTA. And we're going to make deals. Instead of taking our companies, we're going to make the deals fair. And if they, I'll tell you, honestly, very simple. If they don't want to renegotiate, you know what's going to happen? Bye-bye. We're finished. We're finished. That was a deal signed by Bill Clinton. And he never had to suffer the ravages because he left that to others. But I looked at New England. When I was campaigning, I got to know so much about this country, much more than I ever thought I could even fathom. I got to know the people of states, even upstate New York. I know New York, but I got to know the people upstate New York and in different parts of Long Island that were absolutely, it's ravaged. What's happened is horrible. You see factories, you see old but beautiful, and they're literally falling apart. The snow, what happened? Buildings are coming down. And you see people working in factories by the thousands and the tens of thousands, and now they're all either unemployed or having jobs that aren't as good. As an example, many people in this room made more money 18 years ago, okay? And they didn't work as hard as they're working now, and now they have, in many cases, 2 jobs. And that's why we have the crowds, and that's why we have the movement, and that's why we're going to win on November 8th. I really believe that. Now, for the military people in the room, we're doing great with the military. I think we're going to win the military. Like, is anyone not going to vote for us? Any military people in the room? Raise your hand. Who is going to vote for Trump of the military people in the room? I think. Looks like a very similar number. I think. And you know who else likes Trump? The police. The police. We have so many endorsements from the police. The police are not treated properly. They are not treated properly. So here's the story, folks. We're going to make our country great again. Great again. And we're going to be thought of as the smart country again. And we're going to have good relationships. I have great relations with China. I can't believe I just signed a lease, an extension, with the largest bank in the world that happens to be in China. Largest in the world. And I said to my people, you sure they want it? Because I hit them pretty hard. But this is nothing personal. You know, like on The Apprentice that I did, rather successful. I said, it's not personal, it's just business, right? You know, it's one of those things. But I said, are you sure they want to sign? Yeah. And I brought the people in my office, top executives. I said, good, I'm glad you're signing. You are signing, aren't you? You're really signing. I said, that's okay. I don't care. You know, it's a great location. I'd sign somebody else if I had to. But they wanted to re-sign their lease. They were there. They just extended their lease. And they say, no, Mr. Trump, in China we have great respect for you because you tell the truth. Can you believe that? Isn't that great? Isn't that great? So we're going to help the NRA, who are great people, and they're fighting hard. They're fighting hard. Chris and Wayne and all of the people at the NRA, these are people that love our country. But the Second Amendment is under siege, believe me. If Hillary Clinton gets in, the Second Amendment, it is under siege. And that's a very important thing. So here's the story, folks. Here's the story. We are going to make America great again. We are going to make America strong again. We are going to make America safe again. And we are going to have a policy of America first, okay? And on November 8th, I'll be back. I'll be back so much to North Carolina because this is very important. You are going to get so sick and tired of me. You can watch those phony Hillary Clinton ads all over television with Wall Street money. And a lot of people, and let me tell you, the ads are false, by the way. That's just, mostly false. But let me just tell you, I'm going to be back a lot. I'm going to be back so much that you're going to say, please, please, don't come back anymore. We'll vote for you. Please, please. But I just want to thank the people of North Carolina. We're going to have a tremendous victory on November 8th. I'll be back a lot. Thank you, everyone. God bless you. Thank you.